And I think with God, he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ever ask or even think. So for us to put our measly, earthly, fleshly expectations on him, that's honestly limiting him. Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the Transparent Christian channel. I am Simone and I am having a week. Again, I feel like I get on here and I say that very often, but it is true. I've been having a week, and not even that it was like good or bad, like it was both. Like it has been a great week, but it's also been a challenging week because I think, everything externally has been going pretty well. Like I started a new job. I had a really good friend come and visit me all the way from Florida, which it means a lot. Like it means a lot for someone to come visit little old me, like hop on an airplane and come visit little old me. But it's a friend I've known for a very long time and she's near and dear to my heart. So, just her showing me love, it just makes me want to be a better friend to her and to other people and love other people well as well. And it got me thinking that is what, not to get into it too quick, because this is not going to be this, I don't think this is going to be the subject of my video, but I think that is what spreading the love of God is all about. That love that's within us, that we show to people, making the effort and going above and beyond to show somebody that, hey, I really do love you. You being here on earth, is important to me. It means a lot. And having people in my life that have just reflected God's love to me and taught me and shown me tangibly what God's love is and what it's about. I'm so grateful to have that in my life. And I've just been reflecting over that the last week. My mom, my family members, my friends that I do have, I'm so grateful for them. And I'm so grateful to God for revealing himself within each and every one of them. And it just makes me want to be a better person and make sure that somebody, everybody that I am personally connected to, is receiving God's love through me. Yeah. So anyways, I've had a rough week, but it's been a great week. Like I said, what else good has happened to me? I'm alive, I'm breathing. Health wise, guys, it's been a decent week for me. I'm not going to lie. Health wise, I haven't had a decline or anything in my health status, because as you may or may not know, I'm going through some things health wise. So that has been a big change and adjustment for me, but I'm taking it one day at a time. And as far as this week goes, it's been a good week. But mentally, spiritually, I have been wrestling, y'all. Internally, I've been wrestling because, I don't know, because of a lot of things. I've had a lot of self-doubt. I've had a lot of envy within me. I've had, this is the Transparent Christian channel, y'all. I'm not here to be superficial. I'm here to be real, even if it's embarrassing to say these things is true. What else have I been dealing with? I've been dealing with discontentment. I've been dealing with idolatry. These are things I've been dealing with forever. It ebbs and flows. It gets better. And then it's now I'm on to once you progress, in your spiritual journey, you're always going to be working on these things, but to what extent and at what level are you working at, if that makes sense? Before maybe I was dealing with idolatry of social media or different famous people or whatever, and I like cut out secular music, and I have really like, God has given me a lot more discipline and self-control when it comes to social media. Thank God, because that was something I struggled with. But now it's like, I still deal with idolatry in different forms. And I think right now it might be a little bit of self-idolatry. Like I am not showing humility and meekness like Jesus did. And I'm not putting others above myself. And I'm not, serving others to the best of my ability. And, I serve at church. So it's like, girl, what are you talking about? But that is not, what about like, how do you serve the individuals in your life, like your friends and your family members? And to me, when I reflect on that, I'm like, I could do better. And of course, it's a fine line, and there's a balance between like, make sure you're not beating yourself up about certain things, because we can be our own worst critics. But also, like, on the other hand, you don't want to like not self-reflect and like not deal with the things that you're going through. Here's what I've noticed that I do. Here's a little trick that I've learned. Okay. When I get to, because like I said, everything ebbs and flows. Nobody's perfect. You might struggle with something one season, and then the next season you're fine. And then 2 seasons later, you're struggling with that same thing again. That is okay. We're human. As long as you are bringing it to God and being aware of it and trying to do better, that is genuinely what matters. So for me, what I've learned about myself is when I get into a space where I have realized that I am I tend to, like, I find myself judging other people a lot, right? If I notice, I'm like, this person should be doing this, or they shouldn't be doing that. They're wearing too revealing of clothes, or, they shouldn't be talking to that person, or like they need to wash their mouth. They need to work on that. If I find myself constantly like pointing out other people's flaws, that is usually when I'm in a season of neglecting to self-reflect and work on my own sin and my own struggles. And, it's kind of like a cycle in a sense. Like, let's say you're dealing with sin. You're dealing with a bunch of sin. You bring it to God. You're in a season of fighting and struggling with that sin. You bring it to God. God delivers you from that sin. You are delivered. You're healed from that sin. And then you go through a period of like, wow, I'm doing really well. And then it kind of turns into like, me, I'm doing well. And it becomes work focused based on, instead of grace focused, right? And now you're feeling real good because you haven't sinned in a while. You haven't struggled in a while. And now you find yourself looking at other people, maybe even who are dealing with that same sin that you were struggling with. And you're like, a shame. They should be doing X, Y, Z because that worked for me. And, you're pointing out the things with other people. And then it's like, ooh, now you're back down here because now you are struggling with sin. You're being judgy, right? You're putting yourself up here on a pedestal. Where's your humility, right? And now I'm kind of back here where it's like, now I need to work on these things that I'm struggling with yet again. But guess what? God is faithful. He's going to deliver me from those things. I think it's just important to remember that it is not us and it's not what we do. It's not our works that save us and make us good. Nobody's good but God, right? It's only through God that we have righteousness. Once we like break that bridge, that gap, and we kind of skip over Jesus and we skip over God and we go straight to, well, I have been doing good. I have not struggled with lust in a while. That's when it becomes work-based. And we definitely have to catch ourselves because it's definitely a vicious cycle. It's one that goes unnoticed more often than not. So especially and this is really for people who are already believers, like already Christians. But anyways, yeah, so that's what I've been dealing with this week. And I know I mentioned discontentment. Y'all, Valentine's Day is coming up. Valentine's Day, obviously, that, look on your calendars, is coming up. And I have chosen to be single. I have chosen to not isolate myself, y'all, not isolate myself. I don't want to get that twisted. I'm not doing that. Like, God definitely brought me through a season of, how do I want to word this? I don't like the word isolation, because God does love community, but he did bring me through a season of, independence, self-reflection, like independent from the world, dependent on him. He took me away from that life that I was used to and just called me to solitude, to be just with him for a small season, because God, he loves community, partnership, family, friends. He loves all of that. That's why he gives us brothers and sisters in Christ. Like, that's why he gives us those things. But, I did go through that season. I don't think that he's calling me to do that again. I just think that, I have an internal struggle, battle going on right now, because it's like, on one hand, I like company. It brings me comfort. But on the other hand, when I catch myself, I'm speaking in the first person, being too comfortable with receiving comfort through people, that is when, I let my guard down, and it's not good, because now the expectation changes. Now I'm growing this unhealthy dependence on man, on a people, on a person, in order to bring me comfort, in order to bring me peace, in order to bring me joy, when those are things that only God can provide. And yes, he can give you those things through other people, but at the end of the day, he's the ultimate source, right? He's the source of it all. So if I try to skip over him and say I'm directly getting these things through a person instead of saying I'm getting it through God, that becomes a problem, right? And that is how unhealthy attachments form. There's a lot of people, and this doesn't have to do with like a man and a woman. This could be friendships. Like, there's a lot of, and I'm not this friend. I've never been this friend. I don't like being this friend. It's just not like, I'm not a clingy friend. I don't like that. I actually like being by myself. But, we all have that one friend who always wants to hang out, who always wants to be around you. And it's like, there are people who have these unhealthy attachments to their friends because that is how they vent. They're like, I like being with somebody, with so-and-so, because I can talk on the phone with her for hours, and I like venting this to this person. Now that becomes an idol in a sense, because that is your source. Like, that is who you are going to first. And for majority of the time, when it comes to expressing your emotions, when it comes to asking questions, seeking advice, you're going to people instead of going to God. Same thing with relationships, between a man and a woman. I found comfort in other people's company and dating other people. I found provision through other people. This person is buying me food. This person is supplying me with XYZ. And it's not, now you're looking to a person for provision, for sustenance, instead of looking to God. And that's when I catch myself doing that, that is when I'm like, yeah, no, it's, I need to fast. I need to fast and pray. And I need to abstain from whatever it is that is causing that unhealthy attachment, i.e. a person. So whoever that person is, no hard feelings, but I need to back off. Getting older, I realize how healthy boundaries are, okay? And I used to be a yes woman, a yes man, whatever. Say yes because I want to please someone. If they want to hang out, yes, I will say yes. You want to do XYZ? Yes. Even if it was ended up being bad for me, I would just say yes. And it's I have finally learned at the age of 27 to say no. Or to ask someone, hey, I need space. Leave me alone. That is okay. Don't say it in a way that purposefully is going to hurt their feelings. But, I'm a pretty straightforward person. And I just have learned to, when it comes to my relationship with God, putting that first. So if something is jeopardizing that relationship with God or hindering me from having, a full relationship with God, then unfortunately I'm going to have to cut you off. Because that's not putting me first. I'm not going to say, you got to put you first. I got to put me first. No, it's putting God first. That's what that's doing. And yeah, I finally have learned to identify it when it's happening so that I can be aware of it, so that I can nip it in the bud before it becomes, I don't want to say before it becomes a sin, but before it escalates. I'll just say that, before it escalates. But yeah, so that's what I've been dealing with. And now that I've kind of cut certain people off, I've never been alone as much as I have been since I've moved here. Yes, if you don't know, I've moved to a new state by myself, no family, no friends, moved here by myself, right? Since I've been here, I've met a lot of people even people I would consider family. They're so close to me. But, I moved here initially completely by myself. And since I've been here, I've been surrounded by lovely, lovely people. But in this last week, I have been very isolated voluntarily. And some relationships has been involuntary, but for the most part, it's been voluntary. I've been kind of secluded because, I just, like I said, in the beginning, I've been wrestling with a lot. And when I feel just like an uneasiness within myself, I really do pour it out to God. Like I've been crying every day, just in prayer to God. And the reason why I say prayer is because, like I said, in one of my previous videos, I've been studying the book of Job, and it took me a while to understand, like, why is this someone that is considered like righteous and perfect? When all I read was him complaining. But it's like at the end of the day, people try to make prayer seem like it has to be this like formal, perfect, polite, structured conversation, like scripted conversation with God. And according to God himself, if you read the book of Job, like that is not what Job was doing. Was prayer. And to me, it just sounded like he was complaining, but it was prayer because he was directing those complaints towards God. He was crying and he was angry and he was sad towards God, though. He said all of that in conversation and pointed at God, right? Versus people who complain and are angry and are sad, and it's horizontal, right? They're complaining and they're sad to other people, to themselves, because you know how we can overthink and be sad and continue on in our own thoughts, right? We can do that. That's kind of like conversation within ourselves. We could do that. We can complain to other people. We could pick up the phone, call other people, versus literally crying out, lamenting to God. That's what lamenting is. I didn't know what that word meant a year ago. So I'll just be walking around my apartment, like, just honestly, I probably sound crazy, like yelling and crying to God. And it seems like in the moment, it's not doing anything, because it's like, are my problems really getting solved? But then, I take it day by day, but the peace that I do feel after pouring my heart out to God in one-on-one personal conversation, nobody's looking, nobody's listening, nobody's here, nobody's around me. The peace that I feel because of that is peace that I can't find anywhere else. I can't find that when I vent to a friend. I can't find that when I try to like sit on the couch and sulk and overthink things. I don't find that. I don't get peace. I get the opposite of that, actually. I get anxiety when I do those things. Like, they don't help me. But, crying out to God, that is what brings me peace. Even though it may not, give me a solution right then and there. Because even in the book of Job, like, this was going on for a while, right? He had lost everything he had. He was complaining. He was crying. He was angry. All these things. it was not a very short, it wasn't just like within the span of a day or two. Like, so he didn't get all those things he lost back until a while after. So, you know, for me to expect, hey, I'm having a problem, I'm going to cry out to God and my problem's going to be solved that same day. That's unrealistic. It might, but we don't know God's timing. We can't pretend to know God's timing. That's why when people are like, you're going to get this tomorrow, you're going to find your husband tomorrow, it's hard for me to believe that, because you're not God. Did he tell you something he did not tell me about my own life? It's crazy. But, you know, all that to say, if you are feeling uneasy about something, sad about something, angry about something, please just go to God. Please just bring it to God. You might not even know what that looks like, but I'm telling you, it is just the things that you say inside your head. Just address it to God. If you're angry, tell him. If you're sad, tell him. Yeah, if you're discontent and unhappy about the way things went, and part of you resents him for that, tell him. Don't keep that within yourself. Tell him. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That's Philippians 4:7. Right? And what's Philippians 4:6 say? By prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So making these things known to God, telling him how you feel, that's prayer. And he will give you peace. He might not give you an answer right then and there. He might not give you a solution right there, then and there. But the Bible says he will give you peace. That's a promise, right? And we know God is faithful to keep his promises. So again, bring it to God. Just give it to God. Give it to God. Give it to God. That's it. That is it. Don't expect something crazy to happen. Like right then and there, you know, maybe you're crying because you don't have a vehicle. You don't have transportation. You cry out, you say you're mad, whatever, to God. And don't expect a Chevy to pop up in your living room. It might. But I'm saying don't expect that. It's just, we don't know God's timing. We don't even know how he's going to answer our prayers. We don't know how it's going to happen. So we cannot put those expectations on God. My mom always used to tell me, because I used to have trouble keeping friends because my expectations were so high, and I always wanted them to do what I thought was the bare minimum. And my mom was like, you are not going to be able to keep friends because you keep wanting them to be like you and to act like you and to say things how you would say things and to respond how you think is best to respond. That's unrealistic expectations that you are putting on somebody else. And I think with God, he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ever ask or even think. So for us to put our measly, earthly, fleshly expectations on him, that's honestly limiting him. Wow, it's limiting him. It's putting a limit on him. Not that we have the power to limit him, but it's putting a limit on him, right? Because he can do exceedingly above what we could ever think, right? So we cannot put our expectations on God. We can have faith that he will answer our prayers. Yes, we can. That is different. But God does promise us certain things in the Bible, and that we can hold on to. We can have faith that those things that he has promised us will come to pass, right? So peace, he promises us. Joy, he promises to us. Salvation, he promises to us if we believe. So those are things that we can hold on strong to and have faith in that they will come to pass, right? But we cannot put our own earthly expectations on somebody who's supernatural. We can't put our natural expectations and limits on somebody who is supernatural. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. We cannot even comprehend or conceive what it is that he has planned and how he has it planned and when he has it planned. We don't know any of that, right? Anyways, God loves you. He loves me. He loves us so, so much. And all he wants is for us to have relationship with him. So if you are feeling any type of negative emotions, any bad feelings, any uneasiness, any discontentment, sadness, anger, bring it to him, because he loves you so, so much. And he promises us peace. He promises us those things. So yeah, get in some quiet time. Get by yourself. Go in your closet if you have to. Honestly, it helps. Trust me. Just it don't gotta be a prayer closet. You can make it a prayer closet just by praying inside the closet. So get by yourself and pray. And that just means expressing yourself to God. Make sure you thank him for some things. Even if it's just one thing, find something to thank him for. And then continue to express yourself to him. And just see what happens. Just see what happens. Just do it and see what happens, okay? And if you have time, read Philippians 4, verses 6 through 7. My favorite verses. And I hope you be blessed. Goodbye.